Hi, the other big film I watched this weekend was Bullet Train, the latest film release from a studio that I can't remember the name of. But it stars Brad Pitt as an assassin who may or may not be past his prime, getting back into the field with a simple snatch and grab job from an overnight train going from Tokyo to Kyoto. However, having got on the train, he discovers soon that it's packed with other assassins, all on various missions of their own, but all somehow connected to the mysterious underworld syndicate leader, the White Death. A lot of people have said that the film is Tarantino-esque. That's not what struck me. It felt to me very much like John Wick, with which this shares DNA, because director David Leitch was the co-director on the first John Wick film, and a farce almost. There's people talking at cross purposes. There's plots going in different directions, characters overlapping and mixing around, and misunderstandings, and it's a farce crossed with an action movie because of all the fighting and the kick and the kicking and the running and everything being contained on the train. Almost the entire film is set on the train, apart from a few flashbacks and opening and closing scenes. Um, but it has that grandeur of the John Wick films, the idea of the criminal underworld as being this huge unseen world embodied with arcana and mysterious titles and rulers and regulations and that it's a whole separate world that exists between the cracks of our normal society, which is an idea that I love. Um, but it's also really fun and funny and entertaining. And Brad Pitt is at his most engaged and entertaining that I've seen in a very long time. Um, really enjoying getting into the character and playing his assassin for as a joke, as a laugh. He's basically a comedy character in the middle of the script, in the middle of the story. Various other characters coming from various directions. We have the twins, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry, even though one's African American and one is white. Um, have a great chemistry. I didn't notice that Brian Tyree was American because his English accent was so good. Joey King as another young assassin, uh, and I have to be careful what I say. Um, Various other characters as well. Sandra Bullock, who was in the pre-publicity, appears as the voice on the end of the phone as Brad Pitt's handler all the way through, offering helpful advice, trying to talk him down, and acting as a foil for him when he locks himself in a toilet to try and keep out of the way of the carnage going on outside. He's fascinated by these Japanese toilets and all the buttons they have and things they squirt, and he says, "Oh wow, if I had one in the chamber, I would test this bad boy out right now." And she is very upset to hear him talk about this. Um, the level of carnage is impressive. The John Wick films, I like that they go out of their way to be at an angle to the real world. That all the vendettas and debts and chaos that happens in them is all confined to this criminal world, and the civilian population of the world aren't affected. Here, hundreds of people are killed towards the end of the movie. We don't see any dead bodies at all. It's a fantasy. Normally, I would find that absolutely appalling, but because the tone of the film is so flip and uh, sarcastic, almost reaching for the right word, but it's so casually callous. It's the comedy of cruelty in how some people die, and it's absolute. We see like a wedding party, for example, where everyone has been poisoned and they're bleeding out of their eyeballs and they're vomiting blood everywhere, and it's may or may not be funny, but just the sight of it, I think, oh yeah, this is this film has a very relaxed attitude to the sanctity of human life. So the idea that there are trains derailed, there are buildings demolished, you know, it doesn't matter. It's not worth worrying about because the film isn't asking you to be concerned about such things at any point. So it matches the film's overall aesthetic. so I didn't mind it. And as a result, I think the film is very enjoyable. You can revel in the carnage and the over the top action, brilliantly choreographed, the complex script with lots of crisscrossing and everyone is after something different and everything all winds up sort of knitting together in the right direction. Um, it's surprisingly well written. It's nicely directed. It's funny. I found it hugely entertaining. Again, another great late summer blockbuster in what has otherwise been a very disappointing field.